Thousands of ships off China's coast vanish. Thousands of ships have apparently vanished in the seas around China only to reappear days later, with a new law in Beijing blamed. Now entire ships have begun to vanish as they enter Chinese waters, from industry tracking systems. Since the start of the month, vessels from around the globe, from tankers to cargo ships, have disappeared from global tracking systems as they have entered some of the world's busiest shipping lanes close to Chinese ports. As the ships leave Chinese waters, they reappear again. By some estimates, tracking pings from ships near China have fallen by 90% in just a few weeks. An increasing desire by Beijing to isolate itself from the rest of the world is being blamed for the blank spot. State television has raised concerns that foreign organizations could be plundering valuable military and economic intelligence via maritime tracking systems. There are now fears China's newfound reluctance to share information on vessels in its waters could impact global supply chains as shipping companies have less visibility on where their boats are. Supply chains were already under great stress, said a spokesman from an impacted marine tracking firm. It doesn't need another factor to make it more difficult. The drop-off in signals from ships in and near China began to be noticed at the beginning of the month. On November 1st, a new law came into effect in China restricting foreign access to any data, potentially including shipping data, deemed to have a bearing on national or economic security. On the same day, a report on the government-controlled China Central Television, CCTV, focused news program stated that suspicious radio equipment had been found in the home of radio enthusiast close to a military base and commercial port in Zhangjiang in the country's south, west of Hong Kong. The broadcast said the radio ham had installed the equipment which would aid in the global tracking of ships in real time via the internet. The man had no qualms about his high-tech delivery. After all, collecting data on the movement of ships is nothing new. The major way maritime vessels are tracked is through the Automatic Identification System, or AIS, which is a kind of air traffic control for the seas. It uses transceivers fitted on vessels to transmit their position. This data is then picked up by other vessels, satellites or AIS base stations on land. Australia, alarmed by Chinese spy ship. Canberra has confirmed reports of a Chinese spy vessel spotted off the Australian coast, with officials decrying the alarming action despite noting that Beijing was within its rights to sail in international waters. Prime Minister Scott Morrison acknowledged that a Chinese surveillance ship spent some time near his country's coast earlier this year, saying on Friday that the vessel underscored a very serious situation in the Indo-Pacific region, even while adding that Beijing did not run afoul of any maritime laws in the process. I think the presence of the Chinese Navy, which we were aware of, and they were keeping a close eye on us and we were keeping a close eye on them, the importance of that is to highlight to Australians that there is a very serious situation in the Indo-Pacific, Morrison told reporters. They have every right to be where they are. We knew they were there. They are able to be there under international maritime law. But don't think for a second that we were not keeping an eye on them as they were seeking to keep an eye on us. Morrison also said that he expects Beijing to afford his country the same leeway and it sails its own vessels in disputed areas of the South China Sea, where competing territorial claims have given rise to long-standing tensions between China and a number of other regional states. The Daily Telegraph was the first to report the presence of the Chinese spy ship, which it claimed had circled the coast for a period of 3 weeks between August and September. Defense Minister Peter Dutton confirmed that timeframe, telling media on Friday that the ship had remained outside Australian waters and broke no laws. He added later, however, that the deployment was alarming, and said it was at odds with Beijing's rhetoric about promoting peace and security in the Asia-Pacific. The high-level comments on the spy vessel come amid rising hostilities between China and Australia, with Canberra now reportedly considering a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, though officials are said to be waiting on Washington's decision before making their own. Discussion of a potential boycott was prompted by criticisms over China's alleged human rights abuses, namely against its Uyghur Muslim minority. In addition to the Olympics controversy, other tensions between Australia and China have been driven by a long-running trade dispute, which has seen China ban Australian coal imports. As China menaces Taiwan, the island's friends aid its secretive submarine project. For more than 2 decades, Taiwan tried to buy a fleet of modern conventional submarines to fend off an existential threat, invasion by China. There were no takers. The United States, Taiwan's main ally, has a nuclear-powered fleet and hadn't built diesel-powered subs in decades. Other nations balked, fearful of angering Beijing. Now, as China under President Xi Jinping steps up its military intimidation of Taiwan, an array of foreign submarine technology vendors, with the approval of their governments, are aiding a secretive program to build subs in Taiwan. Taipei has stealthily sourced technology, components, and talent from at least 7 nations to help it build an underwater fleet with the potential to exact a heavy toll on any Chinese attack, a Reuters investigation has found. Taipei's chief foreign weapons supplier, the United States, has provided key technology, including combat system components and sonars. But assistance is coming from far beyond America. Defense companies from the United Kingdom, which like America operates a fleet of nuclear-powered ballistic missile and attack submarines, have provided crucial support. A veteran of Britain's Royal Navy submarine fleet, retired Commodore Ian McGee, was a key figure in the drive to recruit submarine expertise, according to a person familiar with his role. McGee helped a Gibraltar-based company hire engineers, including former Royal Navy sailors, the person said. Britain also has approved multiple export licenses in the past 3 years for UK companies to supply submarine components, technology or software to Taiwan, according to information from the Department for International Trade obtained via a Freedom of Information request. The value of submarine technologies approved for export from the UK to Taiwan has grown exponentially in recent years, government data analyzed by Reuters shows. China sends 8 aircraft into Taiwan's ADIZ during visit U.S. Congress members. As 5 members of the United States House of Representatives were visiting Taiwan, China sent 8 military aircraft into the country's Air Defense Identification Zone, ADIZ, report said Friday, November 26. The 17-member U.S. delegation, including Democrats Mark Takano, Elissa Slotkin, Colin Allred, and Sarah Jacobs, and Republican Nancy Mace met with President Tsai Ing-wen at the presidential office Friday. They left Taiwan in the early evening, less than 24 hours after their arrival. The Ministry of National Defense described the planes as 4 Shenyang J-16 fighter jets, 2 Xi'an H-6 bombers, 1 Shaanxi Y-8 anti-submarine warfare plane, and 1 Shaanxi KJ-500 airborne early warning and control AEWNC aircraft. The 2 bombers and the KJ-500 had entered the ADIZ from an area northeast of the Taiwan-held island of Dongsha, the Liberty Times reported. Taiwan's Air Force sent aircraft, issued radio warnings, and deployed air defense missile systems to monitor the Chinese activities. Incursions by People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLAAF, planes into the southwest part of Taiwan's ADIZ have occurred on an almost daily basis for more than a year, increasing tension in the region.